Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Technical Steering Committee meeting for CitrineOS, first meeting of 2026. CitrineOS is a Linux Foundation energy project. If you are unfamiliar with the LFE's antitrust policy, I suggest you take a moment to familiarize yourself with it. A quick overview of what CitrineOS is. It's an open source charging station management system project. It's around almost 3 years old now. Originally authored by S44 Energy and now adopted by Linux Foundation Energy as a sandbox project. You can find our GitHub IO page in the QR code on the left, and on the right is a YouTube channel where there are some webinars and recordings that explain not only this project but also related concepts. Uh, Current state of development, CitrineOS is split across a few different repositories. CitrineOS Core includes the OCPP layer. It just had a minor version release that had actually quite a lot in it for a minor version release. Um, we have replaced the use of interfaces and enums for the data types internal to CitrineOS with XOD schemas. CitrineOS is entirely written in TypeScript, with the exception of our payment module, which was submitted from Stackbox, that's in Python. But since most of the project is in TypeScript, these XOD schemas will allow other parts of the project to enforce the contract between them more effectively, and they're preferable to TypeScript enums and interfaces. We switched from Jest to Vitest, a small improvement to the test runner. And we added much more thorough OCPP data type validation. So there was a GitHub issue opened by a team of researchers doing a thesis in Korea, and they had bombarded the system with a series of different messages that tested the data type limitations, as well as other things. But CitrineOS broadly passed all the tests except for the data type ones. The OCA itself does not test for these. You'll see that CitrineOS is OCA certified. But the data types, despite being described in the protocol, aren't enforced in that testing. So this was an interesting, deeper insight submitted by the community, and we've adapted and now validate those as well. We've also included a mechanism in this release to validate custom data transfer messages. Data transfer messages are available in all versions of OCPP and allow for a free-form data field to be used for custom messages usually. And so this allows for a JSON schema or multiple JSON schemas to be added that can be used to validate the custom contents of these data transfer messages in case they are being used by stations on your network. We've also added some support for Google Cloud. Previous to now, the project only had support for AWS S3. S3 protocols, an API is used across a few different providers, but it is still primarily just AWS. So this update makes it so that Google Cloud Storage's API is also accepted. Upcoming in a future minor release to CitrineOS Core is some improvements to transaction handling, specifically authorization primarily, as well as some improvements to performance. There's been some worries in the Discord about CitrineOS consuming a large amount of memory. It's been difficult to pin those down. We don't see that ourselves in testing, but that's the benefit of the larger community, that they run into some situations that we don't see. So there'll be some tweaks made to try and reduce the memory footprint of CitrineOS as it runs. We also have a big release, which is actually has a good chance of coming out either today or tomorrow, CitrineOS Operator UI version 1.0.0. So that's our first major version release, and the first release that will be not marked as a pre-release. We did a large refactor as part of this change, moving to an entirely different framework and methodology behind the project. Previously, it was a single page application. Now it is a SSR, and we're using Next.js. We moved away from AntD and are now using shadcn with Tailwind. What that all boils down to is the frameworks relevant to the operator UI have been greatly modernized and improved in terms of security and flexibility. So there's a whole lot of different features bundled into that moving to Next.js in particular really allowed us to add. Everything from easier file storage management to better access to Google's API for stuff like geocoding. Um, so that's exciting. And as I said, I'll probably drop today or tomorrow. Um, there's been some delays due to the holidays, but at this point, we're pretty confident with the testing that we've done on this release. So our roadmap right now is that we will be focusing on OCPP 2.1. So 2.1 is the current long-term release of OCPP, but uh, the industry moves a little bit slowly behind that. And there's not a lot of charging stations that actually have 2.1 implemented, even though it's been out for a year plus at this point, I believe. Um, so we'll be starting to implement it. It may take a few releases to do so. I don't expect that 2.1 will be in great demand in this half of the year, but I do know that there are a lot of charging station vendors who are planning 2.1 releases for mid 2026 or the latter half of 2026. So although it hasn't seen a lot of adoption yet, we are just a little bit ahead of the curve here. I would say well timed in starting to implement it. Quick overview of the community. The project was originally contributed by S44 Energy. Like I mentioned, we have had outside contributions such as from Stackbox. They submitted a payment module that allows the use of the Stripe payment processor with CitrineOS. We currently have that number is actually outdated. We have about 550 members on Discord. I do suggest that you go there if you have any questions about the project, want to learn more, or generally just keep up with things as they're happening in the project. There's actually a decent amount of activity that happens there on a weekly basis. Um, There's a variety of different repositories under the CitrineOS organization on GitHub. The CitrineOS repository that's just named CitrineOS is where you will find our governance information. The most basic role available in the project is contributor. Everyone who has had at least one approved and merged PR in any of our various repositories is a contributor. There are no responsibilities associated with that. That is just for recognition. The committer role is a more involved role that actually involves having a say in the future of the project. And as a result, there are some requirements for being able to have that role. You must be active on the email list, serve, and Discord, assist with reviewing and approving pull requests in the various projects. And all of that must constitute at least 25% of your work time commitment to the project. Uh, our feature roadmap is not fixed in stone. We have in the past changed it in accordance with feedback from the community. So we appreciate having feedback with which to inform what features we put into the project. Um, Seeing that there's no one new in the meeting today, so we will skip this open mic section. And that's it for the TSC. If you want to look into the project more, as I mentioned, the GitHub is a good place to do that. There's also a listserv, and the recording of this meeting will be made available on YouTube. Uh, Thank you, everyone, and have a good day.